Hey guys, just wanted to throw something into the pot with regards to creating time. You might ask yourself, how do I create more time? I seem to be really short on this thing called time. I don't have enough of it. I just don't have enough time in the day to do the things I want to do, and I just wish I had more time. So I wanted to go in on one aspect of this, which I thought was interesting and could solve a lot of problems around this question. And that's the association between intention and the creation of time, the link between an intentional life and creating time, and what that means for your time, what that means for your productivity. Because ultimately the question you're asking is really, how do I become more productive with my time? How do I get more done of the things I know are important and that matter? And how do I use my time more effectively? Well, the best thing you can do is to be more intentional with your time. Because if you look at someone who's unintentional, i.e. they don't have any specific commitment, they don't have any direction, or they have very little direction, they're more aimless, they're wandering around through life, through the day, they haven't got a plan. Well, what happens to that person? They might very well go through the day feeling peace and zen, and they might enjoy themselves, but then they can't come to me and say, how do I create more time, if they feel that they're not making enough progress and they're not getting enough done of the things that matter, and they're not productive, they're not getting enough juice from the squeeze with their time, because they're aimless, because they're unintentional. What does unintentionality do for your behavior? Well, it means that you're going to be off the gas a little bit, aren't you? Because there's no direction, so you're going to be floating through the day a little bit more. You're going to be finding more excuses to procrastinate. You're going to be finding more reasons to flip on that Netflix and, squeeze in another episode of that juicy series that you were so keenly attached to. And because there's no intention with what your day's doing for you and what you're doing for the day, you're finding all sorts of reasons to squeeze in other things that don't really matter, right? And then you wonder to yourself, I just can't seem to find the time. Maybe you have got a couple of projects on, but there is less of a sense of urgency in how you're going about doing those things, right? So you're still a little bit aimless, even if you've got a couple of things going on. Maybe you've got the plan or an idea or a dream to build a real estate company or become an artist or, make an impact with your fiction writing. But when it comes to the push and shove of the everyday, you find yourself in the moment kind of like, don't really know where I'm going, what I'm doing. The idea of writing fiction is nice, it's cool, I love it, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to watch some TV. I'm going to, feel productive by washing the dishes. I'm going to do stuff that I could probably outsource, but I'll do it anyway because it makes me feel more productive. Well, you're going to get frustrated with yourself certainly if you've got dreams and goals that you're loosely looking toward, that you want to achieve. You're going to be frustrated and you're going to ask questions around, well, I'm not, the days just seem to run away and I don't seem to be getting enough done. I need to create more time. So I think the solution here is about intention. It's about commitment. When you can commit to something and revive that commitment. This is the problem with being human a lot of the time, is we're not really built to be making commitments. Back in the old Stone Age times, we didn't need commitment, we didn't need discipline, because we had saber-toothed tigers scratching away at the door. We had to survive at every moment. So there was always a very clear reason for doing everything that we needed to do. Winter was coming, we had to hoard and collect items for sustenance and all that. So there was no need for goals, really. I mean, there might have been actually a couple of I suppose there was some goal setting in place in terms of preparing for future scenarios and that kind of stuff. So there was a little bit of that going on, and of course there was a strong intention behind those goals. We're going to die if we don't collect enough resources in time for the harsher times, right? But of course, nowadays, this sense of urgency has been diminished somewhat because we're replacing survival related goals with because we've got just enough, we're doing okay, right? We're replacing those kinds of goals with more lofty dreams, perhaps, or ideals and visions and projects that don't strike us as particularly urgent in the moment. And of course, we end up loosening our intention around those things. That makes sense. So we might even have a goal, but we don't remind ourselves of that goal daily, because it requires daily reminders. And that's really the crux of this whole conversation. And I'm telling myself this as much as you guys, is that you might very well have a couple of goals that you set. You might have some New Year's resolutions that you set for the year, but then you just find yourself slipping and coasting because you're not emphasizing the significance of commitment daily, hourly. And when you've got a commitment in place, when you've got a commitment to a person that you're with, when you've got a commitment to a business that you're building, when you've got a commitment to how you're bringing attention to your brand, when you've got a commitment, like me, loosely, on creating videos as much as I can, so that I create attention for myself and I help you guys, and I develop some depth around my brand and my work, then you've got purpose, then you've got direction in your life, when you can reaffirm those things. And that is when you start becoming more efficient with your time, of course. You create time, essentially, by being intentional. The more intentional you are, the more you're going to be able to squeeze into the day. I'm not suggesting that we end up burning ourselves out by overworking. But if you're asking to create more time, that's a question of productivity, isn't it? That's a question of being productive on the right things. Because otherwise you could just spend your days doing not a huge amount, and that's fine as well. But if you want things done and you want to kind of use your time effectively, you're going to have some direction. So to finish this video off, I just wanted to emphasize this is something that I'm incorporating and bringing more awareness to every day for myself. The key thing is it's not just the nice airy-fairy idea that commitment is important. What we've really got to be doing is reaffirming our commitment as often as we can to the things that matter. So it's kind of like renewing your vows to your commitments every day. And it's got to be daily, it has to be, because we can so easily lose sight of the things that are important in our lives. When we lose sight, we lose the intention, we lose the commitment, and we start fading, we start loosening around time management. We end up kind of aimlessly wandering through the day, right? So there are a couple of things you can do. I mean, one of the things you can do is write your goals down regularly and just at least read over them and remind yourself of what's important for you, and remind yourself of not only what's important in the long term, but what's important in the short term, so that comes down to monthly planning, that comes down to the daily plan. For example, what I do is I'll write down my top 5 things that need to get done for the day, and I'll put them in the order that they need doing. So it becomes a case of just simply going through my list and not allowing myself to deviate from the step-by-step plan. In so doing, I become much more intentional with my time, and I end up creating time, essentially, because I'm using my time better. I'm not allowing time to be wasted on things that don't align with my intention. That's the daily video for today, guys. Hope that was helpful. Any questions, leave them below. Any comments, as always, do feel free to share this with your mates, and do subscribe. Take care, guys.